Objective 6 is the last part that I'm going to talk about now, that I'm going to hand you off to Dr. Newton, who's going to cover Objectives 7 through 10. But in Objective 6, we're looking at the organization of the last two-thirds of the course, the modules 8 through 20, and how they're organized by organ system. So that's what we're going to study now. We're going to look at all the various organ systems of the body. There's 11 different organ systems that we end up covering in 13 different modules. The first organ system we're going to look at is in Module 8. So again, Modules 1 through 7 are going to be the foundational knowledge that you need to get through the rest of the course. But starting with Module 8, towards the end of this first semester, we'll study the integumentary system. An integumentary system is just a fancy name for skin. In the next module, Module 9, we'll look at the skeletal system. And of course, this is the bones and the cartilage. The joints where the bones and cartilage come together is the skeletal system. Module 10, finishing out the first semester, is the muscular system. So that's what moves us around, is the muscle system, and that's covered in Module 10. As I said, those first 10 modules will then complete the first semester. Then in the second semester, Health Sciences 1111, we'll begin with a study of the nervous system. The nervous system is so varied and complex that it actually needs 3 modules for us to get through. Those are modules 11 through 13. Basically, an entire month of this course of one semester is devoted to a study of the nervous system, the brain and spinal cord and associated nerves. Then we'll look at the endocrine system in Module 14. The endocrine system is that body system that's used to signal by sending chemicals into the bloodstream and then receiving those signals in distant organs. This is a signaling system that's used to send signals throughout the human body or over a fairly large area of the human body. In Modules 15 and 16, we'll look at the cardiovascular system. In Module 15, we'll be looking at the defense systems of the human body and also the blood in the human body. What moves the blood around is the cardiovascular system itself, which we'll study in Module 16. So as I said, the defensive systems of the body we're covering in Module 15. That includes the lymphatic and immune systems. Now in Module 17, we'll look at the respiratory system. These are the lungs and associated organs that help bring oxygen into the body and help excrete carbon dioxide from the human body. Module 18 is the digestive system. So materials that go into your mouth and come out the anus are the responsibility of the digestive system. Module 19 is the urinary system. This is the fluid handling system and also the waste handling system of the human body. Wastes that aren't handled by the digestive system are handled by the urinary system. And then finally, we'll close out the course with Module 20. In Module 20, we'll look at the reproductive system. One thing to note here is that in all the other organ systems that we've looked at, that there's really not any significant differences between males and females. But when we get to the reproductive system, these are the systems that define what it is to be male or female, so we begin to see significant differences. What we call the primary sexual characteristics, that is what defines a woman or what defines a man. What defines a woman is an ovary and a uterus, and the connection between the ovary and uterus, which is called the uterine tube. Most people will call those fallopian tubes, which is an older name for that same structure. A vagina also defines a female, so those make up the primary sexual characteristics of the female. Mammary glands, shown here, are not a primary sexual characteristic because they're shared between men and women, but typically mammary glands are more prominent in the female than they are in the male. So we include those with the secondary sexual characteristics, and we'll also study those as part of the reproductive system. In the male, the presence of testes, plural, testis, singular, the duct system for bringing sperm outside of the body, and the penis for delivering sperm to a partner for the purposes of reproduction are all what define a male, And so that's a part of the male reproductive system. In other words, those primary sexual characteristics in the male. Now, we've talked about these as separate systems, but it's important to recognize that all of these systems that we're looking at that we'll cover in different modules are interacting one with the other. For example, I mentioned that the integumentary system is something we study in Module 8, the muscular system in Module 10, the cardiovascular system in Modules 15 and 16, the nervous system in Modules 11 through 13. All of these body systems, all of these organ systems interact to help regulate body temperature. And so we'll be touching on the regulation of body temperature, not just in this module, but also throughout the course as we look at these different modules. So in a number of different modules, we'll be talking about the regulation of body temperature. It'll be your job as a student to recognize that these things interact with one another on a regular basis to produce a balance, a homeostasis in body temperature. Similarly, body fluid composition is covered by the urinary system, which is studied in Module 19, the digestive system, which is Module 18, the respiratory system, Module 17, and cardiovascular, again, Modules 15 and 16. So a number of different body systems are going to be regulating body fluid composition. These are all going to work together, and so it will behoove you to understand how all these things work together. Going back to the first slide that I showed in Objective 1, now we're looking at anatomy and physiology, and we're using that again to put sort of a capstone on these first 6 objectives in Module 1. Recall that anatomy is the study of structure and physiology is the study of function. Recall that we are going through the different levels of organization here. So I've shown you the different levels of organization of the human body, from chemical to cellular to tissue, covered in Modules 1 through 7, and then organs, systems, and organism, which are going to be covered in Modules 8 through 20.